Andy Pandy's coming to play. La 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 la. Andy Pandy's here today. La 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 la.
Andy Pandy's somewhere in the garden today. Let's go and find him, shall we?
Good afternoon. Today it's my great pleasure to interview one of the top TV presenters in the 50s, Vera McKechnie. Hello, Vera McKechnie. Thank you so much for your time. When did you start a children's program?
Well, I started in children's programs in radio up in Manchester, where they got a very well-established children's hour, and I learned a lot from that. It was an excellent setup. It had people like Violet Carson, who you won't remember, but she went on into being Coronation Street, and Muriel Levy, and Uncle Mac. And it was a very good grounding. I learned a lot from that. And then there was an opportunity to go and audition for a television children's program.
So this is how you started?
Well, not exactly. I'd done announcing before that with Sylvia Peters and Mary Malcolm. And that was a slightly different discipline because you were talking straight to camera, you know. And I'll tell you a little interesting story about that, if you like. The man who auditioned me for that at a radio show up in Manchester seemed happy with what I was doing and auditioned me to be an announcer in London. And he wasn't too pleased with it then. And he said, look, there's something that's missing. He said, you've just got married, haven't you? And I had in 1955. Get your husband to take a newspaper, cut a hole in it, the size of the television, of the camera lens, and speak through the hole to your husband. And that will make it more immediate. Don't think you're talking to thousands or millions of people. You're talking to just one person. And that was a presenting technique, an announcing technique, you know, because they were all live. All the announcements that we did were live. That was with Sylvia Peters, Mary Malcolm, Alex McIntosh, people like that. You won't know, but older people might.
What about Watch with Mother? This is a very famous children's program.
Yeah, these came later. I had a chance to present a program called Picture Book, which was part of the Watch with Mother, and then later I did the voiceovers for Andy Pandy, which was a lot of fun. But these were all recorded. Mm-hmm. Children's television was absolutely live in those days, Studio E and Focus, but Watch with Mother was recorded. We did 26 programs, recorded 26, and they went out twice a year, twice a week in fact. And they were very popular. They were rather, I think they're looked down on now, I hope not, but they are as rather, you know, fuddy-duddy old-fashioned, but they were sweet and they were gentle, and it wasn't all in your face like a lot of children's television is now.
Yeah. So did a live television help you? What was your best and worst moment?
Live television certainly made you think on your feet. I'd been in the theatre before, so I was used to being live. And it made you think, and if the outside broadcast cameras broke down, you had to come in and you know, say something. And on children's television, had to be live. We had some lovely, interesting people. Rolf Harris made his very first programme on one of the children's programmes, Studio E, and he went on to do his painting programs. What was that famous expression? Can you guess what it is? He'd say after he'd done this painting. And that sort of started Rolf Harris off. So yes, and the chap who went on to be in Dad's Army, sergeant in Dad's Army, oh dear, what was his name? Clive Dunn. He was in regularly in one of our children's programs as the stage doorkeeper. Lovely man, and then he went on to be in Dad's Army. Oh, there were all sorts of jazz people too. We used to have Kenny Ball and his jazz men, and they were fun. They were lovely programs to be in. I don't know what people thought about them, but they were quite popular, I think.
Your worst moment?
Worst moment? Well, as an announcer, we used to get heavily made up, and the lot, you know, including false eyelashes, and pretty worst moment was one night when one of my false eyelashes came slithering down my face. That was a bit embarrassing because that was live. There was nothing I could do about it. Best moment, I suppose it was when we knew something special was happening on one of the children's programs, live, Studio E. Came back to the studio after tea at 10 to 5, ready to go on the air live at 5. And we knew something had happened. It was all poshed up, you know. And in came these two little people, Princess Anne and Prince Charles. Studio E was their favourite children's programme. And she was a sweet, darling little dancing blonde girl, and he was very serious in his coat with the velvet collar. But they were lovely children. It just seems sad they've got all these people around them, you know, security and governesses and people like that. But that was nice. They loved the programme.
So it's a royal moment.
It was a royal moment, yes, yes.
So from your point of view, how different is BBC from now and then?
Oh, it's vastly different. We used to call it Auntie BBC, as you probably know, and it was family. We knew everybody knew everybody. You could rely on people and you could talk to people, but now it's fighting for its life, I think, and it's become commercial. It's not commercial, but it's had to be. And I think it's lost a lot of what Lord Reid had established it as, special ethos. I know people think that's all old-fashioned and rather fuddy-duddy, but I think it's a pity because it was something very special and still is and could go on being.
But don't you think in the face of the cutthroat competition nowadays, maybe this is a way for all the television stations to survive?
Oh, they've got to, but I don't think you throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. I think the BBC's lost some of its ethos, some of what Lord Reid, I know that that's looked down on now, but some of what he was aiming for when he founded the BBC.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Vera McKechnie.
Thank you, Celia.
Time to go home, time to go home, and he is waving goodbye, goodbye.